There are times in life when silence feels heavier than words, when what is unspoken weighs on the heart more than what has ever been said aloud. The angels want you to understand that the silence you have felt between you and this person you care about so deeply was never about indifference or lack of love. It was born out of fear. Fear that you might hear the truth from someone else before they were strong enough to share it with you themselves. This person has carried secrets not because they wanted to deceive you, but because they were ashamed and afraid. They lived under expectations, traditions, and images carefully created for the world, but none of it reflected the depth of who they really are or the truth of how they feel about you. Your connection with this soul was never casual. Even in moments when they seemed absent, their hearts still reached for you. Yet they wore a mask for far too long, a mask shaped by family, culture, obligations, and their own past mistakes. Loving you disrupted the false identity they had built. You reminded them of freedom, of love that is pure, of choices that align with the soul rather than with fear. But instead of stepping boldly into that truth, they hesitated. They worried about judgment, about rejection, about what their circle would say. They thought they weren't strong enough to face it all, and so they hid in silence. The angels want you to see that this silence wasn't meant to wound you, even though it did. It came from shame. They felt ashamed that when love demanded courage, they stayed quiet. They feared that if someone else told you about their past, a relationship, a commitment, a mistake, or a weakness, you would walk away before they had the chance to explain what you truly mean to them. They worried you would see them through the lens of gossip rather than through the lens of their soul. And so, they lived with the constant fear that the truth would reach you from another voice before they could gather the courage to share it themselves. This person has faced struggles that left scars. They pretended to be strong, but inside they carried storms of guilt, shame, and self-doubt. They have lived through moments of darkness, loss, or even unhealthy attachments. They tried to cope in ways that weren't always healthy, through distractions, through people, or through hiding behind roles the world expected of them. Beneath the calm face they showed others, there was always a storm they didn't want you to see. They weren't trying to betray you. They were trying to protect you from their shadows. They thought you were too pure, too light, too beautiful in spirit to be burdened with their flaws. But here is the truth. You became their light. You were the one who made them believe that love could heal even the deepest wounds. You are not just someone who walked into their life. You are the safe place their soul has been searching for. The angels say you were brought together not by accident, but by divine design. You were meant to awaken them, to help them see that love is stronger than fear, and that true intimacy requires honesty, even about the things we wish we could erase. Yes, they feared you might discover that in the past, they entertained other connections or options. They feared that someone could twist their history into something ugly and use it to make you doubt their love. But the angels ask you to look deeper. The truth is, none of those distractions ever mattered. You were the only one who touched their soul. You were not just one of many. You were the one. Those other moments, those conversations, those illusions, they were symptoms of their confusion and immaturity, not reflections of their true heart. The real love, the lasting love, has always been with you. The shocking truth they have been afraid of you discovering is not only about past mistakes, hidden commitments, or people they once entertained. It is about how lost they were when they met you. They were living scattered, torn between duty and desire, between illusions and truth. They didn't know how to choose. They didn't know how to stand fully in one place. They feared commitment, feared surrender, feared losing freedom. And yet, your presence awakened something in them that none of those other paths ever could. They realized too late that everything else was empty, while you were the only one who felt like home. Now, the angels are guiding you to listen not just with your ears, but with your heart. If the truth comes to you, whether from them or from another, don't let fear guide your response. Instead, see the deeper story. This is not a tale of betrayal for the sake of betrayal. This is the story of a wounded soul learning how to accept love. This person is awakening now. They are learning that strength is not in pretending to be perfect, but in showing their brokenness and still believing they deserve love. You have been chosen to play a role in this transformation. Your love has already started melting the walls they built. Your presence has shown them that vulnerability is not weakness, but sacred strength. You have become their mirror, showing them not who they were, but who they can become. That is why the angels surround you with such tenderness. They know this path has not been easy. They see how your heart has waited with quiet hope, even when unspoken truths caused you pain. The angels ask you to remember, every soul has chapters they do not read aloud. This person's silence was not meant to deceive you, but to cry out for mercy, to pray that you could love them even with their scars. They are beginning to realize that love is not about hiding wounds, but about healing them together. They want to tell you the truth, not to keep you bound to them, but to honor what you brought into their life. They want to step forward, not with half-truths, but with a soul that has learned to surrender. Yes, there may be pain in hearing their full story. Yes, you may feel disappointment or even doubt, but within that truth lies something powerful: growth, awakening, and the decision to finally choose you not out of confusion, but with clarity. You are not here to compete with the past, nor to carry the weight of their mistakes. You are here to see the bigger picture, the divine plan that brought you together, the sacred bond that exists beyond illusions. The angels assure you that nothing born from true love is ever too late. If love is real, it survives truth. If love is divine, it transforms pain into strength. And in your case, the angels whisper, this love is divine. You were always meant to be the light that broke through their confusion. You were always the one who could see past the surface and into the soul. So, dear one, when the truth finds you, pause. Breathe. Let your angels guide you. Remember that you were not brought here to be broken, but to be strengthened. You are not here to fear what others may say, but to listen to the voice of your soul. And your soul already knows the truth. This person loves you, not as an option, but as the answer. Their silence was born of fear, but their awakening is born of love. And love, when guided by the divine, has the power to heal all things. There are moments in life when the weight of what is left unsaid becomes heavier than any words ever spoken. The angels want you to understand that the silence you may have felt, the hesitations you may have sensed, were not born out of a lack of love for you. They were born out of fear. This person who loves you deeply has carried a truth they have been afraid to share. They were terrified that someone from their past, someone who saw them in their most careless, Immature moments would bring pieces of that story to you in a way that could stain the image you hold of them forever. They feared that if you heard about their past without understanding the full picture, you might doubt them, doubt the love they have for you, and even doubt yourself. What they fear most is not your anger, but your pain. They are terrified of you feeling humiliated, of you questioning your own intuition, or believing that you misjudged the depth of what you share. They know how much of your soul you gave to them, how deeply you opened your heart, and the thought of you feeling like a fool for loving them would shatter them more than anything else. That is the secret weight they have been carrying, the fear that their past could hurt the person who matters most to them. The truth is, before you, they were not grounded. They were still playing with the idea of love, still unsure of what they wanted, still distracted by surface-level attention. They spoke to people casually, maybe shared words, jokes, or compliments that seemed harmless at the time but now feel foolish compared to the depth of what they feel for you. They may have entertained options, kept doors open, or acted like someone who was free when in reality their heart was already being called to you. At that time, they did not yet understand what it meant to hold something sacred. They confused attention with affection, passion with freedom, and attraction with love. Then you came into their life, and everything changed. From the very beginning, your energy stood apart. Your wisdom, your light, your inner fire, all of it left them both inspired and intimidated. You awakened something in them that they didn't know how to face. Instead of standing firmly in the fire of your love, they danced around it, unsure if they should dive in or run away. Their actions in those days were the actions of someone still trying to find themselves, someone who had not yet grown into the kind of person they needed to be to deserve a heart like yours. The angels want you to know that even in their immaturity, even in their carelessness, they never stopped feeling something real for you. Your presence haunted them in the most beautiful way. Every time they tried to ignore it, your energy returned, reminding them of what they were on the verge of losing. They regret so deeply the small things, the messages they sent that didn't reflect their true feelings, the compliments they gave away without thought, the posts they liked, the comments they left, the conversations that meant nothing to them, but could look like betrayal to you. They fear these things could come back to you through someone else's voice and make you question everything. They imagine scenarios where someone from their past, a person who saw them during that reckless phase, might reach out to you and say, "They were with me too. They said the same things to me. They didn't know what they wanted." And though those statements might not carry the whole truth, the fear of you believing them, of you doubting your worth, is their greatest torment. They know that in those moments of immaturity, they risked losing the very love that would one day transform them. What you awakened in them was not just affection, but awareness. You made them realize that life is not meant to be lived recklessly, that love is not a game, and that words carry weight. You showed them that loyalty, trust, and sacred emotion are worth more than fleeting attention. They began to see that every reckless choice they had made before you carried consequences, and the biggest consequence would be losing you. That realization shook them to their core, but the truth they hold goes even deeper. Before you, they lived in ways that looked stable to the outside world, but were hollow inside. For some, this might mean they were entangled in a commitment, perhaps a relationship, engagement, or even a marriage that had already lost its soul. For others, It might mean they clung to connections that looked like security, but left them empty. By the time they met you, their heart may have already been free, but in the eyes of the world, they still carried unfinished ties. They feared you would discover this not from them, but from someone else, and that the story would be told in a way that made you feel like nothing more than an escape or a distraction. But the angels assure you, you were never a distraction. You were never a detour. You were the destination. You were the moment everything changed. Meeting you forced them to confront their truth. It made them realize that love is not appearances, not roles, not obligations. Love is soul recognition. It is peace. And you gave them that peace the moment your energy touched theirs. This is why they hesitated. This is why they kept silent. They did not want you to believe you were second best. They did not want you to feel like you were just another chapter in their complicated life. They wanted to finish tearing down the false structures of their past before fully offering themselves to you. But silence itself became its own burden, its own wound. For in silence, you were left to wonder, and wondering brings pain. The angels want you to understand the full picture. This is not a soul who set out to deceive you. This is a soul who was unprepared for the depth of the love you offered. They were immature, yes. They were careless, yes. But the truth is that you awakened them. Your light made them see themselves clearly for the first time. They saw the gaps between who they were and who they wanted to become. And they began to change, not because they were forced, but because your presence made them want to grow. They are not asking you to excuse their past. They are not asking you to erase your pain. What they hope for, what they pray for, is a chance to be seen as they are now, not only as who they were. They want you to know that while their past carried shadows, their present is defined by love. They want to show you that the one who once ran from responsibility is now ready to anchor themselves by your side. The angels surround you now, asking you to breathe deeply, to feel their presence, and to listen with your soul rather than just with your mind. The truth, while heavy, is also holy. It reveals the depth of your light, because it was your light that stirred their awakening. It was your love that exposed their shadows. It was your presence that showed them what real love feels like. They fear the past because they know how fragile trust can be. They know that words spoken carelessly years ago can echo loudly if repeated today. But the angels want you to remember that love is stronger than fear. If love is real, it survives truth. If love is divine, it transforms mistakes into lessons. And the love between you is divine. You were never meant to be broken by this truth, but to be strengthened by it. You were not meant to feel like a fool, but to see how powerful your love is. Powerful enough to transform a wandering soul into one ready to stay. So, dear one, when the truth reaches you, whether whispered by them or echoed through another, pause. Do not let fear speak louder than love. Remember that you are not defined by their past, nor are you bound by their mistakes. You are the light that made them want to change. You are the home their soul has been searching for. And though they feared losing you before they could tell you everything, the angels want you to know that love, real love, cannot be lost to shadows. It grows stronger when exposed to light. This is the message the angels bring you, that even in their silence, their soul has always been calling your name, that what you have awakened in them is not only love, but truth, and that the love between you was never meant to be fleeting, but eternal.